The killing in the north, loyalists are blamed for the murder of Sean Brown. The Church of Ireland's primate is criticised by a Unionist MP over comments on the Orange Order. And tackling the crime wave that's costing us £1 billion a year. Hello, welcome to the programme. Also on 6-1 this evening, the government publishes a pre-election strategy for jobs and the economy. Fianna Fáil says it risks foreign investment here.
RTE says 1996 was its best year ever, but warns again about the planned abolition of duty-free status. And in the Jason Sherlock row, the Dublin County Board is to meet again to try to sort out the controversy.
But first, the Taoiseach and opposition leaders have joined in condemnation of the murder of Sean Brown, the 61-year-old Catholic man whose body was found at Randallstown in County Antrim this morning. Police believe Mr Brown was abducted from outside the Balahi GAA club in Derry as he was locking up. He'd been the club's chairman. The RUC say the killing had all the hallmarks of a sectarian murder. The Mid-Ulster MP, Martin McGuinness, said a loyalist death squad was responsible.
Absolute shock at such a brutal murder. 62-year-old Sean Brown's body was found lying behind his burning car in a laneway off the main Belfast to Derry Road at Randallstown. The father of 6 had been shot in the head. He was abducted less than an hour earlier, 10 miles away in Balahi. Chairman of the local GAA club, at about 11:30 last night, he was locking the gates when he was abducted at gunpoint. The RUC said there was evidence of a struggle and a shot was fired. Sean Brown was then dragged into his car and taken away. It's not known if he was killed there or at the laneway where his body was dumped. One of his sons had left him just 10 minutes earlier.
This murder has all the hallmarks of a sectarian murder, and although we're keeping an open mind on it, this was an innocent man going about his business who was attacked and murdered. So while we have an open mind, we think it's clearly sectarian.
The local parish priest, who spent most of the morning with Mr Brown's family, said despite their intense grief, they pleaded for no retaliation.
The family, I would are even an exaggerated version of the community, and their horror and their shock and their, I would say, they don't even know how they feel. They're in such shock, and yet, you know, in there they're holding their dignity and they're going about what a family should try and do at the time of a death.
And what would he say to those who carried out the killing?
It's very difficult to have anything to say to them, because you can't tune in to where they're at, being able to carry out this kind of a deed.
Likewise, family, friends and colleagues in the GAA cannot understand why he was singled out and killed.
Sean was totally inoffensive. He was a gentleman, he was a man of the highest integrity. He was an instructor in the local government training centre in Ballymena. He worked for the community and with the community. And I think it's a sad reflection on today's society when something like this can happen.
Sean Brown was the 3rd victim of violence in the north in less than a week. There were hopes that with the change of government, Northern Ireland was facing a more peaceful future. This latest upsurge in violence shows how difficult a task that will be. Security sources are in no doubt loyalists were responsible for the killing. Yet the PUP's David Irvine insists the loyalist ceasefire of October '94 is still intact.
When you ask me to use the word condemnation, and it connotates many things in Northern Ireland, I would say to you it's despicable, it's evil, and it's wrong. And another family suffers needlessly. Now, is that enough for you?
The Taoiseach said this afternoon the murder of Sean Brown carried all the hallmarks of a calculated and cold-blooded sectarian outrage. Mr Bruton said it was extremely important that the spiral of sectarian killing be brought to an end, and he called on all the churches to intervene at every level to combat what he described as mob hatred.
Condemning the murder of Sean Brown, the Taoiseach called for cooperation with the security forces in bringing its perpetrators to justice. He described the attack as a blot on the good name of all the people in the area and an attack on the GAA as well. He was joined in expressing his sympathy to Mr Brown's family by the Fianna Fáil leader Bertie Ahern.
Could I ask the Taoiseach, would he express a grave concern at the growth of sectarian attacks? They seemed now over recent weeks of all persuasions, unfortunately, seem to be growing very rapidly. Attacks and assaults, and in a number of cases, attempted murder and murder.
First of all, I reiterate what I've said about sectarian attacks. These are not just an awful injustice to the families and to the individuals targeted, but they also are a shame on the community from which the perpetrators come. And I think we need to restore some sense of shame about what is happening at the present time.
The Progressive Democrats leader, Mary Harney, expressed her sympathy to Mr Brown's family and also her condemnation of his murder.
And as the Taoiseach said, it's not just the murder of Sean Brown, but it's also an attack on the Gaelic Athletic Association and all that it stands for. And coming as it does in the wake of the murder of Constable Bradshaw and the brutality that was meted out on Robert Hamill that led to his death last week, one can only wonder what kind of people can carry out these dreadful attacks of brutality, sectarian attacks of brutality.
The Taoiseach also told the House the government is monitoring the condition of Roisin McCalliskey on a daily basis, and he said there will be government representation at the all-party talks when they resume at Stormont on June 3rd.
This afternoon, the president of the GAA also condemned the killing.
Well, I'm absolutely shocked and horrified at this tragic news, this outrageous act, the murder of one of our prominent officials in County Derry. And obviously, our greatest wish at the moment is to express the sympathy of the association to the Brown family, to the Wolf Tones Club Balahi and the loss of their dedicated and committed chairman, and also to the GAA folk in County Derry.
Sinn Féin's Martin McGuinness said today the killing of Sean Brown made it all the more urgent that political parties work towards credible negotiations. The newly elected MP was in London today, where he visited Roisin McCalliskey in jail.
For Martin McGuinness, this was his first visit to Britain since the election that returned him as MP for Mid-Ulster. At Holloway Prison in North London today, he visited Roisin McCalliskey. Her baby's due in a matter of weeks, if not days, and he held talks with the prison governor about the conditions in which she's being held. He believes that the new Labour government should take a fresh look at the possibility of granting her bail.
I think that many people who have examined the case which has been alleged against her have found it to be a threadbare case. I think that many people are of the opinion that if the case did go to court, that there would be no conviction at the end of it.
Mr McGuinness said the election in the Republic and the forthcoming local elections in the north would have to be out of the way before any further rebuilding of the peace process could take place, and this on last night's killing in the north.
I'm deeply saddened by the fact that another nationalist has lost his life at the hands of the Loyalist death squads. They are obviously continuing with their campaign of no claim, no blame, and I believe that it makes it all the more urgent that both governments and all the parties should do everything in their power to try and put in place the type of negotiations, real negotiations, credible negotiations, against the background of a peaceful atmosphere, which we all know is required if we're to have any hope of resolving the conflict.
Martin McGuinness will be back here in Westminster next week with Sinn Féin's other MP, Gerry Adams. They won't swear an MP's oath of allegiance to the British sovereign, but say they're determined to secure the use of office facilities in the Palace of Westminster. That's brought a storm of protests to the newly re-elected Speaker Betty Boothroyd. No comment so far from the new Prime Minister, but it has all the makings of a huge political row.
An Ulster Union